What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. Oh, you guys, welcome back. Welcome back to a fantastic Friday afternoon. I'm just hanging. Today is one of those days for me that, like, I woke up and I was like, nope. And I went back to bed. And then I looked at my watch and was like, okay, it's noon. Oh, I can nap for a little bit longer. So, like, all that is to say is, like, today is just one of those days that Mike is out of it. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to stick with it. And helping me to stick with it today, ladies and gentlemen, a very good friend of mine coming all the way from Austin. I don't know why I said, in my mind, I was thinking Austin, New Zealand. Austin, Texas. I don't know where Austin, New Zealand is. In fact, I don't even know if there is an Austin, New Zealand. So one of our guests the other day was Cordy Black. Cordy is from New Zealand. So Cordy, if you happen to be watching this, can you let us know, is there an Austin in New Zealand that you know of? It doesn't matter, because Austin, Texas is what it's all about today. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good friend of mine, a fellow improviser, Mr. Paul Normandin.
Hi!
Woo, woo,
Oh,
woo!
thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Well, thanks for being on the show, Paul. And up until probably, maybe 60 seconds ago, you had no idea this was a live show.
Did not. I assumed from the production quality it must be an edited show that you did a lot of work with after the fact. I was like, this guy puts a lot of effort into his show.
Nope. No, I
Nice.
don't.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay. Nice.
Thank you for allowing me to think that I hoodwinked you. Paul, your background, clearly, I mean, like, I don't spend that much time in Austin, Texas, but that doesn't look like Austin to me. Where is you're letting us know you are right now?
That is Milford Sound in the on the South Island of New Zealand. It is probably the most beautiful place I've ever been. My apologies to Juneau, Alaska, because that's probably the second most beautiful place I've ever been. But this place, my wife and I took 3 weeks and toured the country on our own, and it was fantastic.
So
I absolutely had
You are in Austin, New
I am in
Zealand. Austin, New
I am
Zealand.
in Austin, New Zealand right now.
It's perfect. This is absolutely perfect. Oh, this could not have gone any better.
I agree.
Paul, besides being like a fellow improviser and, you know, a person in the industry, actor, a comedian, what is it, this is something that I ask all my guests, what is it about you that qualifies you to sit on a movie talk show and just, you know, talk movies and chit-chat?
Well, I saw a young woman you had on the show the other day who had like a history degree in specific World War II movies, and I was like, oh, wow, I am not worthy. But I really like the gentleman who was with her because his response was, I'm old. And like him, I too was a latchkey kid. I have watched movies. I tend to watch movies before I read the book. Like I judge the movie and I say, oh, that looks like okay, so I'll read the book. Sometimes where I'm like, I'll read the book so I'll switch it up. But I am somebody who is old. I'm closing on 60. I really do spend a lot of time watching things, and I really do enjoy the idea of performance and the idea of creation of a story that is a movie. I like that.
Same for me. I mean, I was never a latchkey kid, but just the opportunity to, like, we all have like those sick days, or like when you're a kid, you have those sick days, and you're like, oh, I have the entire house to myself. I remember on this one occasion, it was when shortly after Blues Brothers 2000 came out, and I was my entire life I'm a huge Blues Brothers fan. I love like the concept and the characters and the music, obviously. So when Blues Brothers 2000 came out, I was like, oh man, I have to see this movie. But it was rated PG-13, and Mom and Dad were like, nope, no PG-13 movies in this household. So on a sick day, when I was homesick from school, somehow I finagled, like I got a copy from a friend of mine or whatever, and I put it in the VHS player back when VHS was still a thing, and I watched it, and I wanted to love it so. It was like one of the first movies that I remember having this visceral reaction of like, I need to love this, but I don't understand these feelings of not loving it. It was like this weird. I don't know. Like, Paul, do you have any movies that from your past that you've watched that you feel like I should love this and everybody else loves it and I don't, but I kind of feel like I need to? Anything jump to mind?
Nothing jumps quickly to mind. I think, like you, there have been movies in my past where I have snuck time to watch them. And now in my spoiled older age where I can fast forward very easily or jump to wherever I want, I frequently go and watch something and I say, oh, no. And I just jump to the – and I do. I get the question that so many other people say, I love this. It was so great. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was the story of the dressmaker. In the poison.
There's. Are you talking about the one with Daniel Day-Lewis?
The period piece. Yes.
Yes. That one.
Usually, I love critically acclaimed movies. Usually, I love movies that get put up for an award. Usually, I can find some way of finding love for them. That movie, I just didn't want to be in. I remember thinking, what could possibly make me want to stay through this film? And I endured it and went, no.
It's curious to me that there are certain actors that decide, like, before their last movie comes out that this is going to be my last movie. And then sometimes it turns out being really bad. Like, Gene Hackman in Welcome to Mooseport. Last movie. Womp. Sean Connery in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Complete stinker. That was a terrible movie.
Such a great premise and setup and comic book, and then it just died.
With a different writer and especially a different director, because even with the same script, it still wouldn't have been a great movie, but with a different director, with different visual effects, even for that time period, like the early 2000s, that could have been a decent film. It wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
Not by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway, guys, as much as you are enjoying listening to Paul and I just kind of like shoot the proverbial fat, talking about all kinds of things that don't have any relevance to today's show, let's talk about what we are going to cover on today's show. First, I'm going to give you a quick rundown. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll tell you why that's important and how to do it. Next, we're going to do a really quick Toy Tuesday recap. We're going to jump right into some movie news. Afterwards, we're going to take your previously emailed questions as our main subjects today, opening up the Gotta Love Them Movies mailbag, and we're going to finish off the show taking your live questions. So, without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Here's the YouTube page on Gotta Love Them Movies. Just go over to youtube.com, type in Gotta Love Them Movies. You'll see a little red square in the upper right-hand corner that says subscribe. Go ahead and click that button. What clicking that button does is it builds our subscriber base. But Mike, we're watching this show on Facebook Live. Why do we need to go to Facebook and subscribe to your channel? YouTube and subscribe to your channel. I have to catch myself every now and again. Well, here's the thing, guys. By expanding our subscriber base and upping the view count on a lot of our videos, that will eventually qualify me to start earning ad revenue. And by earning ad revenue, I get to make this show my full-time job. So I would very much appreciate your support, just clicking that subscribe button, liking, sharing, subscribing, maybe even leaving a comment now and again. And also, once we hit 1,000 subscribers, this show will be moving from Facebook to YouTube. So something just to be on the radar, keep an eye out for. As I said before, we're going to do a little quick recap on Toy Tuesdays. But what is Toy Tuesdays? I'm a toy collector, and I would like to continue collecting toys, but I only have a finite amount of space. So I've decided to do a free toy giveaway from my personal collection. There is no expense to the winner whatsoever, but you must adhere to the following conditions. 1, you must be a subscriber to the Gotta Love Them Movies YouTube channel. 2, you must like and share any one of our videos on social media, preferably this one. And 3, you must write the words Toy Tuesdays, and that will put you in the running for... hang on a second, Paul. I think I can hear myself through your speaker.
Oh, I'm...
No problem. Just go down to the comment section and write Toy Tuesdays Grand Slam, and that will put you in the running to potentially win a plush sausage from the Denny's restaurant franchise, or from the franchise restaurant, either one. This particular plush sausage, as you can see, has an upside down embroidered face. Why they embroidered this upside down, I have no idea, but this could be yours if you follow steps 1, 2, and 3. Just comment Toy Tuesdays Grand Slam in the comment section below. All right, guys, so that does it for our recap of, how to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That does it for the recap of Toy Tuesdays. So now it's time to move on and take a little bit of movie news.
What?
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 All right, guys, it is time to open up the movie news bag. Not that that's a thing, but I just said it. All right, cool. So first up in our movie news, Paul, I don't know if you heard about this, but they are doing, and by they I mean Disney Plus, they're doing a Doogie Howser reboot. This time it's going to have the title. I hate a lot of these titles of articles. In this particular article that comes to us from Deadline, it says it's a female-led reboot. That term just really drives me up a wall. Why does it have to be a female-led reboot? Why can't we just say it's a reboot? When you hear about the name of the show is going to be called Doogie Kamialoha, which is a Hawaiian girl, presumably living in Hawaii. So Doogie Kamialoha. Why can't we just call it that? And not have this qualifier of, oh, well, it's going to be a female-led Doogie Howser reboot show. I also, not that I take issue, but it's when I hear like, oh, it's a insert intellectual property here reboot. Like, okay, cool. Like, why does it have to be a Doogie Howser reboot though? Like, why can't they just do like, hey, here's a really smart girl who lives in Hawaii. She's in high school and she's a doctor. That sounds a lot like Doogie Howser. Well, it is, but we kind of want to make this our own thing,
Right.
Paul, is this the first time that you're hearing of this? And
Yes.
what's your initial reaction?
Well, I agree with you. I was thrown a little by why they needed to put the qualifier on, because I was like, I just call it a reboot and have fun with it. And then the other side of that was good. It's about time we had some fun with that franchise, and people love that franchise. So. And right now, people are looking for comfort in things they know and things they feel, they knew from the past. So I think that will help people feel good, and we want that. So yes, I'm happy for that.
Me as well. A few things that we might be able to kind of glean or project onto what is this show going to be like? Like, what is it going to be about? We know from the article, it's obviously a young girl. The description says that it's a wild Irish mother, kind of like a traditional like red hair, kind of beer swilling kind of Irish mom, and a very traditional Hawaiian father, which is a really interesting mashup. I don't know how that. I think that could be really interesting. But the thing that jumps out to me most is that this is going to be a Disney Plus television show. Currently, it has they ordered 8 episodes. There's a part of me that is slightly concerned because this could be a really cool thing, but if they target it at more towards like the what was that one show, Wizards of Waverly Place, or
yes.
kind of more of like the Disney early teenage crowd. If they target it towards like a Full House kind of demographic,
right?
This may not be the most enjoyable thing. That could be kind of like a family comedy for all ages, as opposed to just a very specific, younger crowd. Is this something that you're taking in consideration before when I first mentioned it, or are you just is it a little worrisome, or do you think they're not going to go that route?
I'm fearful they'll go that route, and there are frequently times where I check into something and I go, oh, this is not aimed at me, and the story level or the comedy level is not going to be something I'm going to embrace. So I walk away. On the other hand, some of the things that Disney has done since they come around and created their own world have been really amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Mandalorian and The Morning Show, holy cow, those are two of the most impressive things I've seen on
Well,
television, if we're still calling it that.
The morning show technically is on Apple TV Plus.
Oh, I apologize. Oh, I
I mean,
failed.
with all of the
I
with
failed.
all the curse words and the f bombs and a
That's
few
true.
nude shots from here and there, I'm not so sure Disney would be, especially when they edited out that scene from Splash, or they didn't edit it out, but they elongated her hair to cover various parts of her body. But I mean, that could be interesting if Disney produced the morning show. Who knows?
I would like to see that. No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, they would neuter that film or that television show severely. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think of the new Doogie Howser reboot? Do you think this is a good idea, a bad idea? Are you excited for it? Are you a little fearful that they might go a little too young with this property, or do you think this is actually going to be kind of a more universal property for everyone in the entire family? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, let's move on to our next. We have two more pieces of movie news. We're going to be talking about movie trailers for the next two movie news bits. The first trailer, or rather, let's hope the only trailer for the new Adam Sandler movie, Hubie Halloween, has come out. Oh man, we've. I feel like we've gotten to a place in society whenever we hear the name Adam Sandler and new movie, there's this visceral reaction that happens that is just kind of, it's a mixture of, that gif of Ryan Reynolds that whenever you just want to like bury your head in your face. Like that's the feeling that I have every single time I hear the words Adam Sandler and new movie. Uncut Gems was a completely new breath of fresh air for Adam Sandler. Everybody wants him to take the dive into serious dramatic roles, and he's great at it. He's really, really good at playing serious dramatic roles. But when it comes to an Adam Sandler comedy, yes, he gets all of his friends and all of his buddies to come out of the woodwork and be in these movies with him. Okay. But the quality is always terrible. Like, they always look really, really bad. I saw the trailer. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting. Here's the thing. It looks like a decent movie, like a decent kind of like Halloween mystery horror, I guess if you could put horror on the tagline. But it looks like a decent, okay movie that has this really stupid main central character in it. I don't exactly know how to process this. Paul, did you see the trailer? And like, what are your knee-jerk reactions?
My first reaction was, oh, how interesting. They want to slam these two things together, and they want to take, because this felt like a typical Adam Sandler obnoxious or absurdist character, right? Where it's over the top. And I felt, oh, they're going to play this character. And people, here's the thing, people love this character that he plays. And then he's putting it into this environment, and it's the boy who cried wolf character, right? Yep. Absurdist boy who cries wolf. And then after that, the thing that got me was that Adam Sandler did what he does really well. He brought everybody he knows who's funny to the movie. Yep. And I thought, oh, I will probably watch this because I'm wondering if this dumb character or this absurdist character can be outshined by all the other characters and comedians and actors that are going to be walking away. Thought was, oh, this seems messed up as heck, but I would probably invest in watching it because I'd be hopeful.
I think you just hit the nail on the head right there. You might be interested in watching it. And that's how I felt, because lately I've kind of been drawn more towards those more like adult meet teenage kind of like scary movies. I mean, they're not scary. Like the Goosebumps movie I thought was really well made. I absolutely loved the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's kind of more of like a grown-up kind of horror thriller kind of thing, but it's targeted towards like older teenage kids. Even A Clock with a House in Its Walls I thought was really fun. It was really directed by Eli Roth. Like,
Right.
Like,
right.
okay, Eli Roth, horror master, doing a movie for kids. Cool.
Right.
So,
And great.
oh yeah,
That
perfect
helped.
casting, yeah.
Yeah.
So with this movie, I kind of feel like it's in that same genre of like, ooh, here's kind of a spooky Halloween movie for like an adult teenage audience. More of a grown-up teenage film. But when you put like Sandy Kovacs right in the middle of it, you're just like, oh, how do you, the Water Boy? It's like seems like a worse character than the Water Boy.
Right. Yes, it did. It did look like that, and it looked like they were going to make it goofy, absurdist. It's silly. I guess that's my dirty word, right? When the movie is silly.
Yeah.
And I kind of check out.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is just a silly film. I'm not putting a lot to it, and I don't have a lot of faith that it's going to go anywhere. And I'm trying to think of that really terrible movie that Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray did about a haunted house with John Candy a million years ago.
Was, it was Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase. Oh, what was that?
But you know what I'm talking about, and that had the same feel. It was like, how did you guys get the money? Oh, you're super powerful. Somebody produced it because they had money and they thought y'all would carry it, and it was one of the worst movies ever made.
It was
just
and
terrible.
Digital Underground had a whole like cameo appearance in the film. It was weird. It was like a haunted house, but it wasn't a haunted house, and there was like this weird roller coaster that like flew outside. I have no idea. It was like in a garbage dump. I don't know. It was weird.
It was like one of those improv shows that goes off the track and you can never seem to pull it back.
Yeah, just edit.
Right.
Just edit. Just edit. Start afresh. It's improv. Do whatever you want. And like, I get it. You can't do that with a film. You can't really start afresh. But like, I don't know. Fantastic. Four Stick. I guess they tried to do the same thing. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, question is, guys, have you seen the trailer for what? I don't even know what this movie's called. Hubie Halloween. Such a stupid title. Are you excited to see this movie? Maybe you are. I don't know. I mean, we're sitting here poking fun at it. But the fact of the matter is that this might actually turn out to be a decent movie. This might actually be really fun. The goofiness might actually work for a change. I mean, Paul, what you said, Adam Sandler has turned into the boy who cried wolf. Like, every single time he comes out with a movie, we're like, okay, this looks stupid, but I'm willing to check it out. And then like every single time you get burned. And this is no exception. I mean, maybe. I don't know. All we have to think, or all we have to say is check it out. Let us know what you think. What did you think of the trailer? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you somewhere in between? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. Well, speaking of movie trailers, guys, we have one more movie trailer to talk about. This particular trailer I think this is actually kind of clever. This is a combination of Freaky Friday meets like Scream, essentially. And it's called Freaky. Where, you have this young teenage high school girl, she's kind of a social reject, not, can't really find her place in like the social setting of high school. And she is murdered by Vince Vaughn. In a kind of a terrible tragedy. But here's a weird thing. During the murder, they switch bodies and he doesn't actually end up killing her. And now she is in this serial killer's body and the serial killer is in her body. And it looks really kind of fun and interesting. It's produced by the same team that, it's a kind of a Blumhouse, it is a Blumhouse film, but it's put together by the same team that did, oh, shoot. Now I have to look this up. Hold on. Let's go through this thing so we can read the subtext.
Well, and I'm so glad to see Vince Vaughn. I feel like he fell off the stage somewhere and we haven't been able to find him. And I know why. We won't mention the terrible series that he destroyed the second season of. But I'm glad he's back and doing something that he looks really qualified to do. One of the things I took away from the trailer, it looked like he was in his element again.
Yes. Yeah. Well, when I heard
Right?
that Vince Vaughn was playing a serial killer, immediately my thought process was, oh, Psycho. He's, he kind of, I don't want to say he got his big break doing what the 1998 reboot of Psycho as Norman Bates, but I mean that's exactly where my mind went to. And the
Sure.
thing that I was looking up that I couldn't find earlier, this film is being directed and produced by the same company and same directorial team that did Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You. So if you liked those movies, which I very much did, I thought they were very clever and really, really fun. This is the same creative team, excuse me, that did Happy Death Day. Paul, what were your knee-jerk reactions to the trailer and upon hearing the Happy Death Day creative team coming back to do a film like this? Does that make you more excited, or kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm on the same plane as I was before?
I think it was the other way around. When I saw that they took Vince Vaughn's two strong suits and had them paired, and they took Freaky Friday, which I love, as
Jamie Lee Curtis.
58-year-old man still thinks that was a fun movie to watch.
It was a fun movie.
It was a fun movie to watch, and there's nothing wrong with that. Given that, I really thought it was clever too. I liked your take on the idea that here is a clever slam these two concepts together, and it does look like it's going to have the creepy, horrific death things that we would expect from this team. But at the same time, it looks like it really did take advantage of Vince Vaughn being in here and having him play these two characters in the same body. I really like that idea.
Because Vince Vaughn is such a versatile character actor in that regard, where you have to know what his strengths are. I mean, earlier this year, I reviewed the movie Arkansas, which was kind of a direct-to-VOD release. Have you heard of it? Did you see it? Are you familiar with Arkansas?
I heard of it. I did not see it.
The trailer actually made it look pretty cool. It has Vince Vaughn, John Malkovich. Who else is in this? There's a few other big names in the Liam Hemsworth. I guess the middle Hemsworth sibling or the younger. I don't know. Whatever. Liam, that one. The one that's not Chris. And the one that's not completely garbage. So I was actually kind of hopeful with Arkansas. I rented. I paid like $20 to rent it because VOD during coronavirus.
You take it. You get it.
Gotta do. And that movie was terrible. We didn't even finish it. We fast forwarded through like the second half of the movie, and I just comedically narrated the rest of the movie and how I think it ended. It was so bad, Paul. It was so bad. Anyway, yeah, the freaky trailer, the freaky movie. I think it looks really fun, really interesting, especially with the creative team from Happy Death Day, because I was very pleasantly surprised with those films. I don't know. Is there any reason that we have to think that this may not be as good as the trailer lends us to think it will be?
I think they gave you some things that when you see them in the trailer, they kind of give you the representation of what you can expect. And we saw it this time. We saw them set her up. We saw the little bit of who she was, which is how you knew she was kind of not in the mainstream and kind of outside and being bullied. And I like that. And then I like that they brought Vince Vaughn in and then had him play that character. And he did a good job from the trailer of playing that character back. So right there alone, even if you don't like horror, you're kind of like, oh, I want to see where this is going to go. And that's what I would expect. Now, you're right. They may have done that thing where they showed the two best clips of the entire movie.
It's possible. I mean, probably not, but, it's possible. I don't know, guys. Question is, did you have a chance to see the freaky trailer? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, that will do it for our movie news. Now it's time to jump into our main topics of the day. And if anybody wants to get a main topic on the show through the Gotta Love Them Movies mailbag, all you have to do is send me an email at gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com, and we'll make your question or comment and main topic of the day and talk whatever it is that you want to talk about. Maybe it's like breaking movie news. Maybe you have a question about a film from yesteryear. Go ahead and send me an email at GottaLoveThemMovies@gmail.com, and we will make your question or comment a main topic of the day. So with all that being said, it's time to open up them Gotta Love Them Movies mailbag. All right, guys, now it is time to open up them Gotta Love Them Movies mailbag, and our first mailbag question comes to us from Becca, who lives in Franklin, Pennsylvania. Thank you so much, Becca. And Becca says, Neve Campbell is back as Sidney Prescott. Honestly, I didn't even know they were making another one. So if you're not familiar, what Becca is specifically referring to here is Neve Campbell is reprising her role as Sidney Prescott in the Scream movies. I, for one, am in alignment with Becca. I didn't know that there was a 5th Scream movie coming out. I had no idea. And then today I go on Collider, Scream, and not just Scream, but Scream. This is the 5th movie in the Scream franchise. Paul, it's a well-known fact, I don't do horror movies. I don't enjoy being scared. I don't like the feeling of having that thrill. Because
Right.
as I think I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, Michael Hill. Ryan Hill was on the show a couple weeks ago, and we both have that ability to internalize whatever it is that we're watching. So if it's an Avengers movie, I am so emotionally invested in the characters, in the excitement. If it's Indiana Jones, I want to be Indiana Jones. And if I'm watching Stephen King's It, I am also emotionally putting myself in those characters' shoes of being chased around and terrified by a demonic clown. It's terrifying. So that's why I kind of like I can't disassociate in that regard with storytelling and movies and stuff like that. I don't know if you have the particular ability to kind of distance yourself a little bit. I don't. But are you a fan of the Scream franchise?
No, and I do also have that inability to not empathize with the characters, and because I can't separate myself from that, I do find in the horror movies I am there in that moment, and I'm like, why would I willingly go there? Why would I do that? My wife, on the other hand, especially if it's super horrific, has this ability to eat a bowl of spaghetti and just enjoy it. It's like she'll be eating a bowl of spaghetti and be like, look at all that gore. Oh, that's great. And I'm like, no, this is disgusting. I don't want to watch. So invariably, I'll be on my phone or on a computer, and it'll be running in the peripheral because she wants to see it in the periphery. She wants to see it, and I am like, no. I do not need to live my life in that space.
I love the idea that it's a bowl of spaghetti that she. Oh, it's the new horror film. What horror film? Doesn't matter. Where's my bowl of spaghetti? And as we all know,
it's the red sauce.
Your wife and I have a particular connection when it comes to ablutions. So this just gives me so much joy and wonder in that regard that we just maybe that's what I should do. The next time I see a horror film, I should just eat spaghetti and just see what happens.
Yeah. Don't do that. That's scary.
just gross. Anyway. But yeah, for those of you who weren't already aware, this is the 5th movie in the Scream franchise. I probably won't see it, and I use the qualifier probably because there is something very interesting about this particular film coming out, which is the production company behind it. If any of you have seen the movie Ready or Not, starring the actress who is so obviously not Harley Quinn, and I never think of her name. Paul, help me out here. The woman who plays Harley Quinn. She was in Wolf of Wall Street. I can think of everybody else's name except for her. Thank you for looking this up for me.
Yeah, I'm on it.
We're just gonna hold.
That is the comedic.
The entire
That is the comedic one.
Yeah, yeah. Not Kaylee Cuoco. Which I just watched the first 2 episodes of that last night. We got way off topic, you guys.
Yes, we
I just
did.
watched
We
the
did.
first 2 episodes of the Harley Quinn animated show. Whoa! What a great show! I will be talking.
Really?
Oh, it's incredible. It's on HBO Max. It's violent. It's filthy. It's disgusting. And it's full of like heart and emotion. It's like it's about like real stuff. It's a fantastic show. So if you're okay with people having filthy mouths, and granted, this is an animated show where there's plenty of blood and guts, and they have really sick humor. They've really sick humor. Like body parts will just explode in an animated format, and then people will curse up a storm. But it's funny. It's good, Paul. It's good. You have to watch it.
Okay. All right. I will check it out. I'm not above watching. I think that's so. Get Out for me was one of those movies where I was like, oh, I don't like horror. I'm not going to watch it. And then in the end, I was like, okay, I can put aside the horrific components of this because it was a really solid movie. Margot Robbie.
Thank you for getting us back on track.
Yeah, no worries. I'm there for you, buddy. I'm there. I got your back.
So the creative team, and I mean, I think maybe the question that we should have asked was, who is the girl from Ready or Not? I know her name. It's Sam Weaving. She's the niece of Hugo Weaving from the Matrix movies or Lord of the Rings. So it's his niece, Sam Weaving, or Samantha Weaving, however she prefers to have her name spoken about. She is the main protagonist in Ready or Not. If you haven't seen Ready or Not, fantastic movie. I loved it. It's technically classified as a horror, but then again, I also classify Jurassic Park as a horror film. So just because it's a horror film doesn't mean that it's scary. I avoid films that are scary, right? Cool. So now that that's been said, the new Scream 5 movie is being produced by the same creative team that made Ready or Not. And it's that element. It's that element because Ready or Not was not a scary film. It was a fun kind of, it had like its silly moments. The whole, are you familiar with the film at all, Paul? Have you heard of it?
No, but now I'm really I want to go see it. I mean, you've really convinced me that this might be something in my
I think you would enjoy it.
Wheelhouse.
The whole idea is that Sam Weaving, it's her wedding day, and she marries into an extremely wealthy family, and their family money comes from being people who make board games and just kind of like games in general. And it's a family tradition that on your wedding night, like whoever joins the family, they have to draw a card from a box, and whatever card pops up, like if it's Parcheesi, cool, let's break out the Parcheesi board and play Parcheesi. Or if it's maybe if you draw the poker card, great, we're all going to sit around and play poker. But she happened to draw the hide and seek card. So, and here's the thing, anytime somebody joins the family and they pull the hide and seek card, that means they have to die. It's one of those weird random things, and they explain in the movie, I'm not going to give it away, but they explain why they have to kill this person. And so now she just thinks, okay, we're playing a weird game, like a really strange game of hide and seek on my wedding night. Okay, whatever. So she's in her wedding dress and she's hiding somewhere in the house, and she has no idea the rest of the family is hunting her to kill her. And so now she has to kind of like, survive the night kind of thing. It's a really clever movie. It's a great premise, and it's fun. It has its silly moments, but like I said, it works. And it's for all those reasons that I think that's why I say I may not go see Scream 5. I saw half of the first one, scared me to death. Never saw 2, never saw 3, never saw 4. So I'm on the fence about 5 because I just don't like being scared. I don't like having that feeling penetrate me. Paul, what are your instincts after all of this explanation about Scream 5?
I'm with you. It is one of those things where, again, if I see the critical mass saying there's something qualifying it as good, or I see a place where I can find a way in, I will watch it. Also, if my wife makes me, I will watch it.
Have your bowl of spaghetti ready.
Right. When the kids lived at home, I know my daughter Cindy, my eldest, she loved the Scream movies. And so it was something that I would turn on for her and invariably would have to come and calm her after she got riled up from it.
Oof.
She was a teenager. Yeah. She was allowed. It was something she could do. But that is a thing, right? A parental thing where you're like, I can't go into that space with you, but I'll be there when you come out.
I'll stand right outside of the movie theater. In a very similar memory, for my 16th birthday, the movie Sixth Sense came out, and everybody. I mean, we were all around back then. I'm saying you're old, Paul.
I am old. I'm so old.
You don't look a day past 84.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But for the Sixth Sense, everybody was talking about it. Everybody was raving. And so, of course, I had to go see the movie. So for my 16th birthday, my parents took me to go see this movie, and it scared me to death. The theater was so packed. We couldn't even sit together. We all had edge of the theater aisle seats. So I sat the closest to the screen. It was maybe a third of the way back. I got halfway through the movie and I was like, I can't stick around through this. I have to go. So I walked back. I got my dad and he was in it. He was like, "Oh, this is great. This is fun." I was like, nope, I have to leave. I'm leaving. I will be out. I will be out. If you want to finish the movie, you finish the movie. I'm leaving. And then I went to go get my mom, who was sitting all the way in the back of the theater, and she was doing this. She she would not even watch. And so when I'm like, "Mom, I'm leaving," she's like, "Yep, I'm with you." So yeah, my parents were the ones that were not so, and I say that after no PG-13 movies in the house. So who knows? We're all over the place. Anyway, guys, question is, what do you think about the new Scream movie? Did you even know there was a Scream movie? And are you excited to see Neve Campbell come back and reprise her role as Sydney? Whatever her face is, jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, we have 2 more emails to get through today, and our next email comes to us from Tony, who lives right here in New York City. How you doing, Tony? Long time no see, pal. And Tony says, "Well, it's official. Wonder Woman 1984 has its 4th release date from Warner Brothers. Do you think it'll actually hold this release date, or do you envision that a 5th release date is in Wonder Woman's future?" So, yeah, if you are not entirely familiar with what Tony is talking about, this comes to us from Variety. And, yeah, Wonder Woman, the Wonder Woman 1984 movie, this is its 4th release date. Originally, this movie was supposed to come... Let's bring up the article real quick. Shall we?
Okay.
Originally, where is it? It's further on down, further on down, further on down,
further on down,
further on down. Okay, so originally the film was supposed to come out on June 5th. And then because of coronavirus, they moved it back to August 14th. And then because of complications due to coronavirus, it moved back to October 2nd, which is up until yesterday, what it was currently supposed to sit at. And now they've pushed it back again to Christmas Day, December 25th, Christmas Day. Wonder Woman 1984 currently will be coming out on Christmas Day. Big question is it going to hold that release date? Or are they going to have to push it back? Now, some of the reasons that they've had to push Wonder Woman 1984 back is because of what directly is going on with Tenet. Tenet is a Warner Brothers movie. Wonder Woman is a Warner Brothers movie. And also Dune is a Warner Brothers film. We haven't started talking about Dune yet, but here's what's important about Dune. Dune is... As you know, with Wonder Woman moving to Christmas Day, Dune is set to open 1 week prior to Wonder Woman. Their concerns with opening Wonder Woman in October are thus: if they open in October, Tenet is not performing the way anybody would hope a major blockbuster will perform. This is kind of the experiment in the sand here. I don't know what an experiment in the sand is. That's an analogy I just made up in the moment. But let's just, for sake of conversation, Tenet right now is the experiment in the sand. Nobody knows exactly how the movie is going to do. Currently, it's only made about, and I say only, $150 million, which, I wouldn't mind having $150 million, but take into consideration, it took $200 million to make the film. 200. And then they have to spend another $200 million to market the movie. Because if you make a movie and nobody knows about it, well, nobody's going to go see it. So now we're up to $400 million. And with, the movie theaters need to get paid. The exhibition places need to get paid. So then you multiply that times 1.5 on average. It's not the rule. It's, an average. It's an approximation. So now we're up to $600 million. Tenet needs to make $600 million, and we haven't even factored in the interest from the banks yet, because interest keeps compounding, right, month after month. Especially if you're talking about $200 million, $400 million. So just to break even, Tenet needs to make $600 million just to break even. And they're currently at the worldwide box office 150. So that's why they've pushed Wonder Woman back. If they keep Wonder Woman in October, it's going to inevitably eat into Tenet's, movie sales, movie ticket sales. So, and that's, I don't want to say it's a risk, but that's an opportunity that they can't take away from Tenet. So that's why they've moved Wonder Woman to Christmas Day. And by doing that, they're also going to have to move Dune. Dune is inevitably going to have to move to 2021. We'd like to think maybe January, but I think, March, April, May. I don't think it's outside of the realm of impossibility to say that Dune might have, a May 2021 release. Paul, what are your thoughts on this? Is it hopeful in that if the studios and if the movies are actually able to make some of the money back by spreading these films out, we get to keep the quality of films? We get to have a Wonder Woman 84. We get to have a Dune. We get to have a Tenet. We get to have a Black Widow. We get to have a James Bond. Oh, Black Widow's number one for me.
I know, right?
But if the movies make their money back, then we can hopefully kind of keep the same level of quality in our films. If they don't make the money back, the quality is going to go down, and the infrequency of the films, or rather, let me invert that. The frequency of the films will go down. So, do you think this is good news that it's being pushed back? Do you think that the studio is being overly cautious? Do you think that we as a people going to see the films in theaters are throwing caution to the wind in going to the theaters? Or do you think, as long as everybody kind of keeps their precautions together, that we don't really have much to worry about? What are your thoughts? This is a complicated issue.
I think it's a very complicated issue, and I want to put a couple of qualifiers around it because I think you've boxed it very nicely. I think the thing I tell people, keep in mind, I am a professional project manager. In my day job, my responsibility was to tell people the software drives the hardware. And I know that's a really oversimplification, but we're at a place in time where people can be pulled out of their homes if there's something they want to see. I think there's a risk. Of course there's a risk. But at the same time, they're desperate. I think if I'm a film industry, I'm looking, when do I put this out so that it draws people in? And when do I do that where it's good and a helpful thing and not a hindrance or a hurtful thing? And so I think you balance that in the can, sitting on a shelf, the film's value may or may not go up.
Correct.
Right? It may just sit. And so if you can say, I've got an investment of $400 million sitting on the shelf, now you're doing the economics of when is it right to pull it out and put it on the shelf. And I think you have to look and say, it's going to lose money and we're going to lose a franchise, because they're not just looking at the $400 million for the film. Wonder Woman is a sequel That's a prequel. That's a weirdness that has the potential to be five
Yeah.
movies or three movies or a whole line of costumes that people will buy for
It's
Halloween
a
that people will
billion-dollar industry. It has a potential to be a billion-dollar film. I mean, the last Wonder Woman didn't quite hit a billion. I think it was 900 million. But I mean, it has the potential. It's an intellectual property that people are familiar with. People know. People love Wonder Woman. And now we live in a day and age where Wonder Woman, in some cases, is more popular and more accepted than a Superman or a Batman. So this has and the toys. We haven't even started talking about the toy sales yet. The opportunities for this film and this franchise are enormous. So, like, how is the studio going to handle something like that?
Well, I think that's when you say the economics say put it on the shelf. It's not going to lose its value. We had success with the first one was amazing. People loved it. They wanted to wear the costumes. They wanted to be part of it. They wanted the toys. I'm going to set it on the shelf and hope that we can keep that energy up. And I got to tell you, pushing the date back raises the stakes a little, puts it in the popular eye. People are talking about it, and they're building a little hope. Maybe in December, I'll feel more comfortable about going out and seeing the movie. I don't feel comfortable right now. Obviously, Tenet is proving that for most people, but maybe I'll feel a little better. Don't push my Dune. Please don't push my Dune. I really want to see Dune. Please don't push the Dune.
Now, that actually raises an interesting question, because if you, oh man, I had the question on the forefront of my brain, and I started that sentence, and it just fizzled away. It was something to do with the longer we let the film sit on the shelf, when does the value start to when does the financial aspect, like,
well, Micah,
you have to pay the money back at some point, right?
You do have to pay the money back, but I think investors in general can appreciate that we lose our stake, right? We're going to lose our stake if we only get 150,000 on a 400,000 investment. So they're looking at that. The other side of that is competition.
Yeah.
Who is my competition? And if they're making good movies and they're in the wings, am I going to be going head to head with another blockbuster that has the potential to do better than me? And is it going to take away from my series or my Wonder Woman 84 and crush me at the box office? And then we become Close Encounters of the Third Kind to Star Wars.
Yeah, that was
we come out at the same time. We're both science fiction movies, and we come out, and this little Star Wars film just takes the box office, and nobody hears of Close Encounters of the Third Kind except as it was a really good film. It was well made. That director's going to be really good someday.
That little Jaws movie you did, it was a one-off.
Yeah. He'll find his way. I think of Duel. I think his first movie I saw was Duel.
I think that was the first major motion picture he made.
Oh, wow.
That was his first
I was there at the beginning. I'm old.
And then what? Jaws. I think Jaws was number 2. Close Encounters number 3, and so on and so on. And you can track the whole Steven Spielberg career himself. Question is, guys, what do you think of Wonder Woman 84 being pushed back to Christmas? Do you think this is a smart move on Warner Brothers' behalf, or do you think they're being overly cautious? Do you think that there's nothing to worry about? Some people in the world actually think there's nothing to worry about. Are you one of those people? I'm interested. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts, and let's start this discussion. All right, guys, let's move on to our last and final email. Last and final? Man, I love being redundant. I am the king of redundancy. I also work for the Department of Redundancy department, in case you didn't know. Our last and final email of the day comes to us from Sal, who also lives right here in New York City. And Sal uses a little bit of fancy language, and he says, "Oh my asterisk ampersand percent dollar hashtag. Oh my stuff. It's actually happening. Dominic Toretto is going to outer space. What a glorious day." And here's what Sal's talking about. I think Ludacris actually was the one that broke the news, but Michelle Rodriguez yesterday was the one who confirmed the news when she did an interview on Sirius XM radio yesterday, where the interviewers were asking her about, like, are you actually going to space? Is this a thing? Like, is Fast and the Furious going to outer space? And Michelle Rodriguez, her reaction was, how did you find out about that? How did you know? And, you know, apparently, I guess, like, Ludacris let it slip, but she was the one who confirmed it. She went on to say that, you know, when a film gets delayed, people start talking and news gets out. And she was just blown away. Now, the other news story here is that thanks to Michelle Rodriguez, she was able to get a female writer hired on the writing staff for the Fast and Furious movies. And that's a huge win. That's a huge win. Because as we've been talking about, you know, especially, I always go back to the movie Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron. One of the reasons that she took the role and that she also produced that movie was that she wanted to make sure that women have their own fighting style. Women do not fight like men. So why are we forcing this agenda of women fighting like men? Why do women have to emote in the same way that men emote to have like a really cool or like a bad character, not a bad guy character, but like kind of like a hard grizzled, like, oh, that's really cool kind of character. Why do we treat women in Hollywood the same way that we treat men? They're women. Let's treat them like women. Let's give them opportunities and a voice and a physical fighting style and opportunities that, reflect the real world. Why do we keep trying to force this agenda of, women should act more like men? And getting a female writer on the writing staff of Fast and Furious is a huge win. Huge win. But also, I mean, the other news story here is that they're going to space, which I think we all can look at and be like, well, of course they are. What else is Fast and Furious going to do? Paul, are you a fan of the Fast and Furious franchise? And what do you think of them going to outer space?
I am not a fan in the sense that I went and watched all the movies. I am a fan of the idea that if you're going to keep upping every movie with how do you go faster, how do you make the speed quicker, obviously you have to go to space because you're going to have to break out of the sound barrier and start pushing towards 30,000 miles an hour, right? It's the only way you're going to get there because you can't do it on the Earth. So I get that. And I totally see where they're going. That being said, Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw, I think had some silliness, and yet I watched it. I watched the whole thing, and I was like, okay, I don't know how they got here. I don't get how they got here, but I was interested. I wanted to know more about this franchise,
right? And
I would probably watch the next movie that came out of it because it has done something.
Right.
I don't know what that is, but I sure as heck like the idea that there's a woman writing for it, and maybe, yeah. And I am with you on Atomic Blonde, by the way. That was one of my favorite movies the last 5 years. I love spy movies, and that really made me happy.
If I can address Atomic Blonde for a second, I didn't love the movie itself. I loved the action. I thought the acting was really cool. What they did, like the story with some of the characters, and, maybe we'll talk about this movie in a future installment of Throwback Thursdays. But especially the ending just did not work for me. It did not work for me. I was like, oh, groan. But I mean, all that being said, like the action scenes of that movie were incredible. I have a little confession to make, something that may come as a shock and a surprise to many people. I haven't seen any Fast and Furious movies.
I thought I was going to be the ignorant one in these movies because I've only seen one.
I've seen the first one. I saw the first one when it came out in 2001, when it was still like an original concept. Yeah, so I've seen the first one. I haven't seen it in, 18 years? It's been 18 years since I've seen it, since when it came out. So, yeah. I would like... I've been waiting for the series to end so I can just binge all of the movies together. But the series doesn't end. It just keeps going. It just keeps going and going and going. So I think at some point I'm just gonna have to suck it up and do, because I think there's 10 movies now with this latest installment.
I didn't realize there were that many.
This is Fast 9. I get Fast and Furious 9, whatever it is they're calling it, and including Hobbs and Shaw, 10 movies in the franchise.
Wow, I did not count that well. Okay.
So
You're
yeah,
right. 18 years, 10 movies. That's pretty impressive
right.
franchise right there. Yeah.
That's on par with James
Success to them.
Bond. You know, in
Yes.
the early days with Sean Connery, they were doing a Bond movie every year, and then once production kind of got to a certain level, they had to go every other year. And then when you get to oh, Timothy Dalton, there was that like 6 year gap where there weren't any Bond films, and everyone's like, what's going on? But there was a whole weird legal thing, and also like the social tension in the room. Like, how do you do a male misogynist spy
Right.
in kind of like a 90s like world, especially when the Berlin Wall doesn't exist anymore. So they had to figure that out. But yeah, and then Daniel Craig. I love Daniel Craig's portrayal. But
Casino Royale, the last remake of it, was probably my favorite thing I've ever seen a spy movie do. Right there with Robert Redford. Was one of the best movies I've seen in the spy genre. So there you go. Casino Royale. Who would have thought?
I agree. No, Casino Royale was fantastic. Yeah, so Fast and Furious, guys. Have you heard of this news? Are you excited that they're going to space? Because, I mean, why not? Like, it's fast. Even though I haven't seen the films, I concede. Like, I know enough about the movies to know that it's completely tongue-in-cheek. They are pure popcorn movies. They're not trying to impress anyone. They're not trying to win any awards. It's just, let's have some fun. Let's turn the lights low. Let's eat some popcorn and see some weird, wild, ridiculous action. Because why not? Like, I think in one of the last movies, in the trailer, there was a car that jumped from one building to another. And I'm like, okay. Like, it's a matter of time. Of course they're going to outer space. Of course they are. Of course. But why not?
And
of course.
We'll probably go with them. We'll probably go with them.
Yeah. Well, hey, with Tom Cruise going to actually going to outer space to film a movie, I think that will be. Who knows what the story is going to be? Who knows like what the movie is? But that could be really cool. It could be really terrible. Could be cool. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, question is, guys, what do you think of the new Fast and Furious movie, Fast 9, going to outer space? Michelle Rodriguez admitted her character is not one of the ones going to outer space with Dominic Toretto or Ludacris or... I don't know the rest of the characters. Paul Walker's not around anymore, so we can't put him in outer space, but... What do you think? Would you like to go to outer space with the Fast franchise? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, that does it for our mailbag questions. Now we're just going to jump into the live feed and take your live questions. And I've got a little bit of news for you. You're going to be disappointed.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Before, you might be a little disappointed by our questions in the live feed because we only have one comment. It's not even a question, it is a comment. So let's milk this for as much as we can milk it for, shall we? And this comment comes from James Barnes. James Barnes is a fellow improviser who lives in England, and James says, "Subscribed, good sir," with a little happy face right next to it. James, thank you so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel. In all sincerity, that means quite a deal. That means quite a lot. I love doing this show, and I think it's fair to admit very few people watch this on Facebook Live. Yeah. I think that's a fair concession to make. Now, granted, yeah, I do upload all of these videos and I cut them down into smaller bite-sized pieces up to the YouTubes to try and build that fan base, try and continue on with this. I do this on Facebook Live because essentially this is where the people are. You know, it's for anyone who grew up in Northwest Pennsylvania in the 80s and 90s. You know that Hills is where the toys are. It was a department store. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was one of the best. Hills is where the toys are. Facebook is where the people are. I feel like I need a Hills t-shirt. If anybody is watching, which I know you're not, because I can literally see one person is watching the show right now. Oh, we just got another comment. We'll come to that in a second, but we still need to milk this one. It really does mean a great deal for everyone who's a part of the community, like to all of my guests. Paul, you are one in a long line of guests. Every single day, I try to get somebody new, somebody fresh, get new perspectives and, other opportunities to hear other people's voices, because we're all so diverse. We're all so different. We all have different backgrounds and experiences. We can all kind of come together and the movies that you have mentioned before are not the same movies that other guests have mentioned before. So
Sure.
I just love the opportunity to come together and to create a community, hopefully in a safe environment where we can just talk about like things that don't matter. The world that we live in is ridiculous. And if you've ever watched the show, you'll know that I always end the show with a plea for people to speak kind words to each other. Let's infuse a little bit of kindness into the world and listen instead of speak. Try that for a change and see what happens. And I think we can all understand and realize that like movies and entertainment in the grand scheme of things don't matter. They don't matter. The world will go on if Hollywood collapses altogether. I mean, yeah, a lot of people are going to be out of work, but, they will find other jobs and life will move on. We are a resilient race of human beings. And so just to give us a community to escape, because that's what film does for me. Film is an escape where I can forget my worries, forget my problems, for a few hours, go into a darkened movie theater, even at home. Like, hey, let's enjoy a movie. Bill and Ted Face the Music. I was looking so forward to Bill and Ted Face the Music. When it finally happened, I could not contain myself. And at midnight, when that movie dropped, good night, honey. I hope you sleep well. See you tomorrow. Bill and Ted Face the Music. Bill and Ted Face the Music. I get, as Paul, as we talked about before, I get so emotionally involved in these stories and personal connections with these characters. Like, I want to be Frodo. I want to be Venkman, Peter Venkman. I want to be Captain America. I mean, for heaven's sakes, look at this. I've got Captain America's shield up on my wall right there, like along with Thor's hammer.
You and Stephen Colbert.
Oh man, if only I had his career. If only he had mine.
Colbert. He's got your shield.
It's true. I lent it out to him. Yeah.
That's nice
I
of
lent
you.
it out to him.
See, that's that kindness thing you were talking about.
Paul, can you go into a little bit more detail about what it is about films and television shows and entertainment in general? I mean, like we are storytellers. We are improvisers on stage. And like, what is it about the personal connection that you have with stories?
Well, I am actually a professional storyteller in the sense that I get on stage and tell true personal stories fashioned very similarly to what started in New York about 22 years ago with The Moth. And so I get on stage, and sometimes the stories are heartfelt and touching. Sometimes they're tragedies or sadness, and sometimes they're comedies. And the truth of the matter is I've seen all of those types of stories be very successful, just like we watch each year in the film industry, where they take these stories, some of them heartfelt, some of them tragedy, some of them brilliant comedies, and they bring them together and they connect with us. But they do it by making us appreciate that we're like them. Mm-hmm. That we find some value in what we're watching because we can connect with them on a personal level. I think that's the thing that I always struggle with, to go back to the Adam Sandlers, where I don't feel like I connect with the character as well. Whereas Freaky, I have a potential of relating to Vince Vaughn's character at some level, and that makes me want to buy into it really quickly.
Well, there's the buying into Vince Vaughn's character, but there's also the buying into the teenage girl's character, because I think her whole thing is, at least from the trailers, what they portrayed in the trailer was she feels like an outcast. She feels like the person in high school that nobody wants to pay attention to. She doesn't know how to handle herself in these social situations. And especially, again, I keep going back to the whole improv connection here, but that's what I teach in all of my classes is improv is a way of learning connection. We learn like, oh, circles go with circles, squares go with squares, triangles go with triangles. When it's like that, do you remember that old Sesame Street? One of these things isn't like the other. Somewhere, somehow in society, yeah, we never learned that. We never learned how to be a part of a conversation and contribute in a way that means something. So, I always go back to, comic book fans and nerds and geeks and, cosplayers and stuff like that, because there's this similar thread that connects us all in that we don't fully understand how to relate or communicate with other people in a way that is socially acceptable. Case
I find that interesting that because when I mentioned the Vince Vaughn character, I meant the Vince Vaughn character when he was the little girl.
There you go.
Right. And so that was my entry to that character. I was like, oh, no, I can relate to what it's like to show that femininity and be this vulnerable and share that with the people in the audience and then admit that that is part of who I am. Right. It is not the whole, obviously, but there are times when I tell a story that facet is what I'm focused on. And that is the one through line that's coming throughout when I tell my story. So I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I can see how that can relate to somebody and get their attention and help them feel like I might be feeling in that moment. And man, I yearn for that, especially right now when we are so disconnected physically from each other. Yeah. That this is something I'm craving even more. And I think we're seeing that because reboots are coming out because people want to feel safe. They want to go back to characters they know, or they want to go to places they're comfortable with. And we're seeing that coming out so quickly and so heartily that I'm craving. I was like you when Bill and Ted came out. I went back and watched the first one. I couldn't watch the second one again. But I went back and watched the first one again, and I went, this holds up better than I thought it would have.
It does.
And I still relate to these characters in a way that I didn't appreciate, plus George Carlin.
Well, of course. Always George Carlin. Always George
Carlin. He did a great job in that movie. Sorry.
Yeah, so anyway, all of that is to say James Barnes has subscribed to the YouTube channel. So thank you.
Thank you, James.
I think we milked that for as much as we could get out of it. And our last... Oh, look. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I'm all over the place. Our last comment comes to us from Robbie Spratt, who says, "Hi, Mike." Hi, Robbie. Robbie is a very good friend of mine who lives in Salt Lake City, Utah. Or do you live in Bountiful? I think you're from Bountiful. I think Robbie's from Bountiful. My mother is from Bountiful, Utah. So I've always had this personal connection with people from Salt Lake or especially from Bountiful, because it's such a specific region of the world. Robbie is also a fellow cinephile, fan of films, and an apt commenter on the channel here on Gotta Love Them Movies. So Robbie, again, thank you for watching the show. Thank you for being part of the conversation and contributing. I know one of the things Robbie's actually given me a few great ideas for the show. Previously, I was doing years ago when I was just doing movie reviews before we had like a movie talk show. Robbie was one of the ones that gave me the inspiration to change my rating or my grading system for movies. I always go acting, directing, writing, the takeaway of the film, and then the effectiveness of the movie. Like how effective, like what are the messages of the movie, and then what is it that, the studio was trying to accomplish, or the filmmakers were trying to say with that particular thing. And Robbie hit it so eloquently on the head that last category needs to be effectiveness. I can't remember what it was before, but I've been using effectiveness for so long now. But I think that perfectly encapsulates, like, what is the point of the movie, and did the filmmakers do what they set out to do? Paul, how do you grade movies? Is it just kind of like, yep, overall I liked it, nope, sure didn't? Like, what's your criteria?
I think since I came to improv, which I did in my late 40s, I found that I look at the directing more. I look at what did the director do? What were they going for? I give a lot of credit for trying something hard, even if they fail. I give credit to filmmakers when they set out and say, I like this idea. I want to put it with this. I want to see if I can make this work. And I give lots of credits for people who are experimental and trying hard to do something divergent from the standard or the mainstream. Yeah. So I usually look at that first. Second, I look, does the story hold? Is there a story here that is worthy? And then I go, can I relate to these characters? Right? Because it might be a story that's really good, but I just can't relate to the characters. And sometimes that's me. Right? Obviously, there are movies that I don't get that other people get. That's why there are so many of them, and their stories are so divergent. So I give that up happily. And then I look at the relationships in the story. Were the relationships real? Did I feel attached to the people in the same way, or could I appreciate their attachment? And at the end, I do kind of walk away with, because I do know, like, there's an old movie you may not have seen, Denzel Washington, Courage Under Fire.
I know, I haven't seen it, but I know of the film. It was
well, I served in the military, and that is one of those movies that at the end of the day, I look at how Denzel Washington's character in that related to the people around him and the message that came from that relationship as something I go back to all the time as a way of saying, hey, that's a good person, and here's how you know they're a good person. And I think stories give us that. Stories give us this ability to say, here's a way to value people. So when I look at the end of the day, I look for what they're trying to do, and then did they succeed? And then can I relate to the people and the characters in the story?
Well, I also see films and movies and television shows as a way of learning life lessons. Like, we're taught certain things in school. If you're religious, in church or synagogue, like, we all have our kind of like social construct of right and wrong, and there's a gradient. Admittedly, so there is a gradient, but I think that's one of the wonderful things about film and television and movies is that we get to see some of like these gradients of people's morality choices and how they interact with each other in a kind of, I don't want to say a real world setting, because that would actually be us putting those things into practice, but seeing how other characters and people who look like us and sound like us, and I identify with this particular aspect of a human being, or a character rather, and see how they make their choices.
Yeah, and you mentioned Uncut Gems earlier when we were talking about Adam Sandler, and I think that's a really good example of some fantastic acting, an attempt to show something different where I just could not relate to Adam Sandler. Like, I was like, you have completely lost touch with reality. You have this dream that's bigger than you can fit in your head, and now you are on this tragic course. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can't relate to that. I don't want to relate to that. I want to push myself away from that moment. And that's personal. Obviously, there are a lot of critics. There are a lot of people who love that movie who really could relate to that character in a way I could not.
Well, there's also stories like Breaking Bad. And I would even say Breaking Bad and Uncut Gems are similar in this regard, is that they're cautionary tales. This is, and I love what Vince Gilligan said about Breaking Bad and Walter White is that he wanted to create, was it Mr. Chips? He wanted to take Mr. Chips and turn him into Scarface in 1 year. In one calendar year. Yeah. How do you turn a character from Mr. Chips into Scarface like that?
Right.
And I think that's what makes it so interesting, is that we get to see this human nature of like, we all start out at the same place, but given the choices that we make in life, sometimes our choices lead us down a rocky path. Or I don't know why I'm thinking of The Punisher or Peppermint. Peppermint, by the way, if you haven't seen Peppermint, that's a great. No. It's exactly the same Punisher story, but it has nothing to do with Marvel Comics whatsoever. It's just Jennifer Garner watched her whole family get killed from in front of her as a result of like this weird drug cartel gone sideways thing, and then she goes off the map for like 5 years and comes back and kills everybody. It's awesome. It did not get good reviews, but I loved that film. I thought it was so good. Anyway, all that is to say, like, morality tales of vengeance, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. There's so much to glean from storytelling. And this is a conversation that I have with my mother from time to time, is that, she's the kind of person that just watches movies and television for pure entertainment, turn your brain off and just see a story unfold. She's not the kind of person that internalizes these stories and uses them as life lessons. And what can I learn from this thing? I will argue to my death that The Twilight Zone, the original television show, 1959 to 1964, is the greatest television show ever made. I contend it is the best television show of all time, for its so many reasons. It was so innovative in the storytelling genre. It was innovative in how it marketed the shows to its audiences. It was creative in that every single episode had a morality tale to it. There was something that we can learn from every single episode. You know, it's so easy to point at Eye of the Beholder and say, hey, this particular episode is, we shouldn't worry about our looks. And for 1959, that was a revolutionary idea. Everybody was so consumed with their looks, and you had to have the Donna Reed, austere to your personality. If you didn't look a certain way, if you didn't act a certain way. Mad Men, I had to stop watching Mad Men because it was so gross inside. And I understand, like, there's a morality tale, cautionary tale turned backwards. It just made me feel gross inside, so I had to stop watching it. But, like, to see how the level of misogyny and disrespect and kind of the class system that existed in a show like that, like Twilight Zone, taking those concepts and turning them on their head and saying, we need to look at things from a very different perspective, and they still hold up today. They still hold up today. Like, that show came out 90 years ago. 60 years ago? Am I doing my math right?
It's 2020.
Yeah, 60 years ago. 61 years ago.
Wow.
And it's still relevant today. Anyway, all this stuff is just to say that, like, this is why I love cinema. This is why I love storytelling. This is why I do this show, so that we can have this community where we can have these conversations and bring people like yourself, Paul, on the show and others, so that we can all correlate and collaborate together and, see what we come up with. Just because this is the format of the show today, in 1 year from now, I mean, the whole format might change, and that's a good thing. We need to be open, fluid, be open to ideas, and see where things take us. Do you have any final thoughts?
I love the show. I love what you're trying to do. I love the idea that storytelling. No. I stand on stage and tell stories. Yeah. I do everything but cast and, go get the pieces. I write scripts and sketches, and I go and do performance with them. I'm with you. I think that creative effort is worth the effort. And I'm reminded of a movie you probably never heard of called The Return of the Secaucus Seven. That was a really successful film, a very small film, filmed with like a $50,000 budget. Wow. And it did this amazing story, and it talked about these characters and these relationships, and it was powerful. And I'm always amazed that you can still do that on a shoestring if you're willing to put in the effort and find the cast that's willing to live the parts, that really can connect us with other human beings. So I know we talked about movies that are $600 million. My brain can't get around that, but $600 million and $50,000. And I think there are still people who are trying to learn how to create. Every year, I have the luxury, or maybe not this year, but for the last many years, I've been one of the hosts for screenings of shorts at the Austin Film Festival. Yeah. And I get to meet all the people who are creating these stories. And it has been a great joy, much like you find joy in this, to get up there with them and ask them questions relevant to their film and why they made it and what the decisions were in the making, and listen to the audience of sometimes 200 or 300 people, ask them direct pointed questions about the budget, about the effort, about the casting, about the direction. It is so cool to be present and be witness to that, that I pray they reach out to me this year to do this on video, because I have enjoyed it so much. But your show does the same thing. It reaches out and tries to, as opposed to, what are you getting from this and what is it bringing to you?
Thank you. Thank you. Genuinely, thank you. It sounds like I say that very flippantly. All right, well, thanks. But no, it's genuinely and seriously, thank you for that. Because that's exactly what I'm trying to build. That's exactly what we're trying to do. And I want this community to grow and to thrive and just give people an outlet to, this is what I love to do. Every single time I meet a new human being, almost without hesitation, I ask, "What's your favorite movie of all time?" And 9 times out of 10, people will respond and just say, "Oh, well, how can you choose?" But I love that, and I've adopted a new question as well: is what is your favorite dinosaur? Because why not? That childlike wonder and imagination, like kids have the best ideas. Adults have good ideas, but kids have the best ideas because there are no limitations on their, they have no preconceived ideas. They have no biases. There's no agenda. They just want to have pure fun and imagination, and they have the best ideas. So that's why I try to, live my life as a child as much as I can to try and harness and create in that environment. Paul, it has been absolutely incredible having you on the show today, and just
thank you, Mike.
Chit-chatting and talking and delving into territories that we didn't plan to go into.
No.
We only had 2 comments, and boy did we spiral off into the abyss, but which is also a great film. But I would love to have you back on the show again sometime soon. This is
Thank you, Mike.
a wonderful conversation for me to have, and just your spirit and your positivity and everything that you bring to the table. Paul, can you do me a favor and just go ahead and plug yourself? Like, where can people find you online? What are your future projects coming up, sir?
Well, I'm actually shooting a film this week, or a sketch to be put on a web series called Over the Ledge. It's season 5 of it. I've been with it since its foundation, and I'm very proud of it. It kind of pokes fun at the Texas House and Senate, and it asks our government to be better, and it pulls out the things
New Zealand,
that are going.
right? Where you currently are in Austin, New Zealand.
This just looked a lot cooler than Austin right now. But I will admit, this is where I think my wife and I would move to if we could just afford to pick up and go anywhere.
Fair.
That being said, Over the Ledge is a really fun show. I also do a monthly storytelling show called Testify. I'm one of the producers with that. I'm very proud of getting to work with that organization. And I'm also part of the Tejas, which is another word for Texas, storytelling festival conference this year. And I am going to be a headliner for that. So if you're looking for an hour-long set of stories from an old, fat, bald guy, I've got you covered. And my stories are out there in the universe, so they're worth checking out. That being said, Mike, I'm going to make a recommendation to you. And this is sort of a plug, so I apologize because it's not my show. But I think you would really enjoy a show called Shame Watch. It's a podcast. Have you heard of Shame Watch?
I'm not huge into podcasts. Again, with film and television, I'm a visual storyteller, a visual learner, but I'm always open to recommend it. It's Shame Watch.
Shame Watch. And I recommend you listen to it because I think the 3 comedians who are on that show, there might be 4 now, those 3 folks are A, friends of mine, B, they ask this question: is there a movie you're ashamed that you love? And then they spend an hour talking about it. Right. Oh, you would love the show. So I think they even covered that one. But take a look at their podcast, and maybe next time you go for a run, stick it in your ears and just listen as you go. And I think you guys should do some fun together.
Yeah. Oh, can you please be our liaison and let's set this up. I think that would be great. I think that would be fantastic, actually.
I will do that.
We have, I normally don't do this because we're already in the closing parts of the show.
Sorry.
But we just got 2 more comments that I would feel remiss if we didn't read them. First comment comes from Scott Schultz. Huge shout out to Scott. Scott was the one who actually got me into this particular format of the show. There's a particular program called OBS, and OBS is the streaming software that I use. Earlier, Paul, you said oh, the show looks so professional. It looks like you spent hours editing it. No, this is a streaming software called OBS, and so that is a huge shout out to Scott for putting OBS on my radar, so I can actually make a show look somewhat professional. And Scott says Stegosaurus, obviously. Previous conversation, we were talking about your favorite dinosaur. So Scott here is just saying, well, Stegosaurus, obviously. Thank you for that, Scott. For me, it's a T-Rex.
Brontosaurus. Sorry, I'm lame. I like the big, slow-moving, herbivores. Oh, that's lovely.
There's my favorite. Admittedly, so this is a Jurassic World pop toy. I wish it was Jurassic Park, but hey, semantics. It's all Jurassic. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And I do love that scene with the brontosauruses in that movie. That is one of my favorite scenes when that first reveal and you see the world and there are brontosauruses. Sorry.
Well, that's why Jurassic Park is my favorite film of all time, is because it was large in a part to that scene, and we had never seen anything like that before. I was 11 years old. I was in the movie theater. I told the story on the show the other day. I was in the movie theater. I was 11 years old. It was my brother's birthday, and it was the first time we ever got to see a movie without my parents present. And we were with, two other of our friends, middle school age friends. And so we all went to go see the movie together, and I was floored. It was the first time I had ever seen magic on the screen. Yeah, Indiana Jones does some really cool and fantastical things, but bringing dinosaurs back from the dead? What? It was pure, and I was the right age for it. First time I had ever saw magic. It was just this moment of awe, complete jaw-dropping, salivating excitement. I'm in it. And, all those reasons, that's why Jurassic Park is my favorite film of all time.
So I want to point out a little scene from a little movie you may have not seen. It's called Galaxy Quest.
Of course I've seen it.
And I have that moment where I never thought a film could make me feel this way. It is the scene where Tim Allen is back on the ship with his friends. And they are just about to see, they're coming down an elevator and they're about to see the ship for the first time. And there is something that is so magical in that for me. Sometimes I just go back and watch that scene. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm a huge Star Trek nerd. But there's something amazing for me in that moment that I was like, I didn't know you could do that with a film. You made me feel something amazing, positive and good about myself, and I love that.
In a very similar way, there's a I can't remember the exact name of this video game, but it's a VR game. My previous roommate just invested in the whole big VR goggles and the headphones and the whole thing. Spared no expense, if I can quote Jurassic Park. Spared no expense. He got himself this incredible VR system. And there's a Batman game. Where you are Bruce Wayne and you kind of have to move through Wayne Manor or whatever and find the secret buttons on the piano to push, and then the floor opens up and the elevator takes you down, and as you're going down there's instructions. It's kind of like the learning simulation of how to put on the bat suit and put on the gloves, and here's your Batarang and how to put it back in your belt. And you're learning how to become Batman in a virtually real environment. And then after you figure out all the stuff of how the suit works, the elevator comes down into the Batcave. And I kid you not, this is no exaggeration. This is completely real. I was crying.
Yeah.
I was tears, I wasn't sobbing, but tears were coming out of my eyes because I was having such an emotional response to this game. I am Batman. I am Batman. I understand this is a virtual world. None of this is real. But as far as my brain is concerned, this is completely real. I am Batman. There's Alfred. There's the computer. There's the Bat car, the Batmobile. Consoles over there. I can pull my thing out, clip, and then just swing to the next. It was the most incredible experience.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to have to get that now. Thank you for that.
Do it. So our last comment of the day, we had a previous last comment of the day, but this is the real last comment of the day from Robbie Spratt. Robbie says, this is a little lengthy. He says, so I rewatched the Dune trailer. Yesterday, Robbie commented on the show that he saw the Dune trailer. It didn't work for him. So I rewatched the Dune trailer, and I think I better understand why it didn't excite me more. In my opinion, it doesn't look much different from the other Dune iterations we've seen in the past. I'm sure the film will be good and modern, but I'm struggling to see the quote, value added from this remake. I'd like to know what they are doing to improve upon the previous films. That is a great point.
That is a really good point.
I think I had a very similar reaction to you, Robbie, when I saw it. Now, granted, my expectations for Dune are low because I've I've never seen any of the previous films, or I guess the previous film or the miniseries. I've never read the book. I'm not a big sci-fi fan.
Oh, okay.
It seems counterintuitive, right? I mean, look at all this nerd paraphernalia.
Yeah, I am.
You would think, yeah, of course, sci-fi. I love fantasy, but sci-fi, it's okay. There's something about Dune that, yes, I agree with. It has this kind of monochromatic feel to it, and I will concede there is something about that monochromatic feel and tone that doesn't always sit well with me. And the one thing that gives me a lot of hope and excitement for this movie is, and I keep going back, the filmmaker, Denis Villeneuve, French-Canadian. He's a brilliant filmmaker. I've never seen one of his movies that I haven't not just liked, but loved. I love all of his movies without exception. They're all exceptional. Are you familiar with Denis Villeneuve?
No.
Did you see Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal?
I don't believe I did. I think
Stop
I missed
what
that
you're
one.
doing and go watch that movie.
I'll do it. I'll go watch Enemy.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Prisoners with Hugh Jackman and Paul Dano and Terrence Howard and Viola
I
Davis.
have not seen that.
Brilliant movie. Arrival with Amy Adams and Hawkeye.
Okay, you sold me.
Yeah.
You sold me. That movie was amazing.
Sicario.
Just so well directed. Well directed.
Yeah. Sicario. Emily Blunt and Josh Brolin.
Sicario. That was really good.
And most recently Blade Runner 2049.
Okay, I love that movie. Okay, yes, I love this
Denis
director.
Villeneuve.
Obviously,
he's one of my favorite film directors right now, and he kills it. His films never get promoted the way that they should. They never get the love. The general audience doesn't understand what kind of a filmmaker he is, so people don't go out to see his movies. But they are brilliant without exception, and that is what makes me excited for Dune, because he's such an incredible visionary. I do understand what you're talking about, Robbie, with kind of like that, how did you put it? In my opinion, it doesn't look much more different from the other Dune iterations we've seen in the past. It does have that monochromatic feel to it. I'm not excited about that, but I trust Denis Villeneuve. Paul?
I want to see it.
Yeah.
I think the movies you just named that I saw convinced me that this is a kind of director I will just go on spec and say, I want to see what you've done.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Absolutely
let's do it.
Incredible.
Let's do it, Dune. All right. I'm even more excited now. I'm more excited.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of this community and the discussion. Paul, we already got your credentials, but once again, can you just go ahead and plug the stuff that you have coming up for us?
Testify ATX is Thursday night at 8 o'clock Central. It is a storytelling show. I am part of this. It is our 7th anniversary show. We'd love to have you there. Tickets are just $5, and you're in the room with us. We want to hear you breathing. We want to hear you laughing or crying or feeling what the stage performers are giving you, because we want you there with us. $5.
That's
it's
awesome.
Cheap.
And where can people find you on? You have your handle on Twitter is mypagenate.
Paginate. I really like page numbers on things, so it's Paginate.
Cool.
Paginate. Yeah.
Originally, I thought it was My Pagan 8. What?
My Pagan 8. Yeah, he was very hungry. He ate. Yes.
Paul, thank you again so much for being on the show today. I loved having you. I love talking to you, and I just love having this discussion. So thank you, sir.
Thank you
Ladies
very
and
much,
gentlemen,
Mike.
if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. because that is what director Paul Villeneuve, Denis Villeneuve would want you to do. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike Brown. I always encourage you to go out and speak kind words to each other. We live in a weird world, so please speak kind words to each other. If you have an opportunity to perform an act of kindness, please take that opportunity and just infuse just a little bit more love into the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not be doing the show on Monday. I have to work my other day job as the airline stewardess, passing out drinks to people who don't wear their masks. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you on Tuesday. So I will see you bright, bushy-tailed, and early, all on Tuesday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.